Welcome back to another episode of SNG Weekly, and guess what? We're going to build a model this week. That one. And we're going to do a lot on it, and we will get back to Battlestar next week, and of course the movie. But this is what we got to do this week, so let's get going. So let's get going with some cool stuff this week. I'm going to start off by addressing something I've been getting a lot of lately, and that is comments that, not mean, but just people saying that, you know, really, Steve, we're not interested in graphics, we're not interested in special effects. I guess you're not interested in filmmaking or science fiction filmmaking either, although, correct me if I'm wrong, your passion for models like the Enterprise and Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars all come from watching movies, right? Well, that's my background. I've worked in motion pictures for 40 years. I started with Francis Coppola and worked in the same building with George Lucas when he was doing THX 1138, which I think is the best movie he's ever made. Because, you know, I'm into filmmaking, but I also like having fun, like Star Wars, Matt Mercury, and Martian Attacks SNG. So really, my love for building models really came out of watching movies when I was a kid, World War II movies and stuff like that, and building the ships and the spaceships that I saw from those movies. And so it kind of surprises me when people say, well, really, you're not building models enough for me, so see you later. And I've gotten a lot of that, and some of you know who I'm talking about. I never said I was going to stop building models. I said that model making for a living won't pay the rent, won't pay the bills. You cannot make money building models. You really can't. You know, QMX, I don't know how they're surviving, but they are evidently. But I don't see their books. I don't know what they're making. But their models are very reasonably priced. I mean, you get a refit from them from $5,000 to $6,000. It's got a full house in it. Now, that's a really good deal, and I'd be hard-pressed to match that. And so after I spend 2-3 months building a model for you and putting all the materials and time in it, that money turns out to be less than a few $100s a week. And you know what? That's not making money. I don't know how they're doing it. That's their business. But for me, since I don't have things built in China and have assembly lines and all that kind of stuff, I build everything single-handedly, and I have to be paid for it, and I wasn't getting paid for it. So I stopped, and that's the only reason. We are still building models for our projects. I'm still building models for the Science Fiction Museum. I'm building the big Enterprise. I'm still building Battlestar Galactica. I have several kits that I'm going to build over time. I'm going to build the Saturn V, all kinds of stuff. And those are for me and for Mary and for our pleasure. So yes, I never said that I was going to stop making models. I'm still going to be making them. It's just that we're making films because getting a film funded and making that film, in fact, does pay the bills. And besides, I love making films. That's how I started. That's how I got in the business. So now that I'm done with that rant, let's go take a look about what I'm really doing, and that's this big girl behind me. And we're going to start doing some work on her today that I think you'll enjoy. Okay, a trip to the hardware store, and what I got, some 1/2-inch plumbing fittings, which will be used to mount this whole ship to the engineering section. The reason that I have these, let's see if I can get them out of the package. And here's everything out of the package. You can see what I'm going for. This is going to all thread together, and this to that, and this into the base. And the reason that I have these is that the plexiglass or wood, I haven't decided which yet, for the main structure, for the internal structure for the engineering section, will be supported by this rather well. It worked good on my Enterprise. So we're going to put all this together. We've got to cut some wood for a base. This way I have a way of starting to mount this. And once the engineering section is mounted, then I can start attaching pylons, the saucer section, and none of it will be added permanently. It'll all be attached and then opened up again as I work on the model and add rooms and details and all kinds of other stuff inside. So this is basically what you end up with, and this is so strong. And you know, by the time the model's on here, so it sits about that high off the table. What we need to do now is find Rosie her ball. Where's Rosie's ball? This is just like old times, isn't it? Except we're not in a dingy garage. Where is the ball, Rosie? Can I see where the ball is? Come on, where is it? Get the ball. Get it. She gets the ball into here, and then she has a fit that she can't get it. There, now she's got the ball. Silly dog. Anyway, so we marked this. We're going to cut this. We're going to make it the same size of the base on my Enterprise. I may do a different base for it for the museum, but for now, we need something really sturdy, hardy, that we can really wail on this model and work on. So I'm going to cut this with the saw and face the sides with some trim so I get it up off the table, have room to run wiring cables under. Remember the movie The Changeling? This ball just dropped down the stairs all by itself. It came from Rosie the Wonder Dog. And while I'm working on the Enterprise and listening to Beethoven's 7th, we'll see if she can catch this from down here. Gonna catch it, Rose? Here we go. Catch it. Oh, you missed. Yeah, you did. Okay, I'm gonna turn off Beethoven's 7th as much as I love it. It doesn't go with our background music. I'm working on a bass here, and it's open here so that we can get wiring out for now. What I'm doing now is marking center on it since it's 24 inches square. We're gonna mark the center here and cut a hole for our wiring to come out. We're gonna mount this. And using one of these handy hole cutters for doors, I cut a nice hole in there. Now we're going to vacuum that up because I always clean as I go along. This will fit right over. We'll bolt this down, and this will be the beginning of a wonderful thing, because this is what I have to have in order to start building the model. And since I know there's a lot of you out there still building my kit, one who recently contacted me and said, Steve, at long last, I'm going to start building my kit, and your videos are gone from YouTube. Well, we all know about what happened there with YouTube not liking my music that I paid for from Pond5. That turned out that Pond5 didn't have the rights to because the music had been remixed and sold to them. It was a big oops. I became the fall guy. So without going on more about that, it's good that we're doing this all over again, because this time all the music is legal from my good friend Thomas Martin, who's a hell of a composer and one heck of a model maker. You'll get to see every single step of this pretty much. So you see what I'm doing here, and you see how I made the nice countersink hole and all that. So now I'm going to screw these down. That's basically it. I can screw everything together. We're going to make the profile former to hold this together. And there we go. We got a nice work base to start all this on, and it's very, very, very sturdy and hardy. So this is exactly what we need to get going on this. Now the next thing we're going to start on is we're going to take these pieces apart. And even before I finish the windows, I'm going to make our profile that fits inside here. So for those of you that don't want to use plexiglass, don't want to work in aluminum, this is what I'm going to do, since I don't have either here. The plexiglass I have, it's kind of on the thin side. We made a nice tracing, and we're going to cut this out with a jigsaw. And then we're going to put it against that and cut this out here so this fits over that, and then lock the whole thing down. You know, you gotta like big models, because they're so much easier to work on, and they're so cool. I like little models too, but what I wanted to show you here is getting this to fit. It's a little difficult. You have to trace it. You still have to find how it seats in there so it's about a 50-50 situation, which is, once you're sure that that's working out, then you can go to the next step. But, you know, this will now fit and close just right the way it's supposed to. You got a nice bit to stick out there, attached to the saucer section, and that supports this whole thing here. There, it's in frame. So that's really good. So now that I'm sure that that's fine, what I'm going to do next is we want the model to be level, so what I'm going to do is put this on the stand, and then we're going to cut out inside here and mount this inside. Okay, after a lot of huffing and puffing and working I've got this to fit pretty good, and it's pretty level, and now we'll be able to put the ship up. The side I have not done the windows to yet, but you get the idea. That will be able to fit right over that and support this model. We can show you also from this side how that's going to go. The wood isn't the most sexy and prettiest thing in the world to encapsulate the actual hull around, but it's going to be inside. We're not going to see it, and it's very structural and it's going to be very strong because this is half-inch plywood, so it's really quite overkill, but it's by the same token, this is going to sit in a museum for a long time. Now what I have to do is get this fixed off, either with some putty or probably epoxy to lock this in. Not on here, but this piece here, because this in fact will be unscrewed and re-screwed in when we actually move the model. So there will be a cord coming down here that will come out and feed through there, so there won't be any chafing. But the next step, of course, now is to lock this down. Then I can actually get this on and see how it fits, and we can start figuring out the other parts that have to be supported. Like I have to make a skeleton that fits inside the Enterprise, the saucer section itself, that locks onto this. But bit by bit, you'll see this happen. As it turns out, I have, thanks to Jeff Helps, from his last visit here, he was working with this material, and there's a whole fresh can of it. It's Bondo glass, and what it is a polyester kind of Bondo, but it has glass reinforcement in it. This is the perfect thing to use to get a very quick bind and lock this all together and fill in all those gaps and make this into a nice, nifty, tidy little thing. While I eat lunch, I can come back and have something very secure to work on. And it's just a two-part material like Bondo putty, and for working on car bodies and that kind of thing. It's great for modeling. That's what I'm going to use. So here I've got the Bondo polyester glass mix. It's got chopped glass in it, which is its strength, extra strength and fiber. And it's on here, and we're going to wait for this to set up, and then we're going to flip it over and do the other side. A lot of it's gone through the cracks and has supported it on the other side. We want to make sure and really lock this in. This will be very, very strong this way. And then we'll be able to put this back up here and temporarily attach the sides to see how they fit. And then we're going to go and do some windows. Oh boy. So this side is real hard. I can pick it up, flip it over now, and we're going to do this side, lock it all in. You can see it's already locked in, but we want to lock it in the rest of the way. It's a little uneven, but it is straight to the rod and shaft, and so that'll be fine. We can adjust everything very easily. So we're going to make some more of this stuff up, lock it in there. Then we're going to attach that, see how it looks, and cut up some more windows. Tools for the job: magnifiers, rat tail files, and a whole bunch of windows. Now, there's a lot more windows opened up on this one than my very Canon version of the ship, because this one is going to be a little bit more, well, brought into the modern age a bit, because as I've discussed before, and some of you might be new checking in on this, we're going to have the windows able to turn off some of these and light up some, and there's going to be they're going to be all clear so you can see inside and see little rooms in there, which is going to be a bit of an undertaking, but we're going to do it. Not every single place is going to have them, but quite a few are. So now that those are cut out, I want to put that up here. I have the other side to do still, but I want to put this up here and see how this all looks. This is about as far as we're going to get for today, which is pretty far, because I managed to get all those windows opened up on this side now, and so tomorrow we'll do the other side. Of course, the actual model never had this side, I think it's this side, open at all. It was there weren't any windows back here because we never saw this side. It was always away from camera. So I cut some hole out here so that we can get this over the pipe, because that's what was keeping me from closing it before. Now it's a pretty tight fit, but we can get it on. You can see pretty darn well. Everything seems to be lining up just about right, so that's really good. Now we're going to take this side and put this side on, and the two Basically, there'll be a couple of screws that hold this all together until we do the final assembly, and even then, there may be some hidden screws somewhere in case we ever need to get in here, which we may have to do. You never know. And you don't want to, yeah, this is fitting real good. Good, good, good. Very happy with that. So it's a good snug fit. That's what we're looking for. If I turn that sideways, you can see we're pretty level, the ship. It's going up a little bit, but not terribly bad. So it's looking really good. What I'm going to be doing for the nacelles is I'm going to be using this aluminum stock here. This aluminum stock is going to go inside, connect to itself and to the wood with some putty, and these will be exactly at the right angles. So this will support them, will have no drooping. Additionally, inside the nacelles themselves, I'm going to use this square stock in the nacelles to support them so they don't droop at all either. Because this is going to be there for a long time, and after 3, almost 4 years, mine's drooping a little bit. Not real bad, but we don't want them to have poles underneath of it. But this is going to be really good. A good tight fit. There's going to be a little tiny bit of adjustment here and there. Not much. This is really, really going together good. So I'm very pleased how well this turned out. I mean, it's not as if I haven't done this before. I have done this before. We all know that. But this one's even better than mine. It's a really solid rig. So, and of course, this is opened up back here so we can actually get the hangar bay in. It also gives me good access to where the pylons will actually be connected. Now, see, here's part of the problem with why the hangar bay does not work in real life the way it is in the Enterprise, because the pylons, unless they were attached somehow to the hull and some kind of structure going across, you never could have it go back as far as it did. So we're going to do a forced perspective gag just the same way that Polar Lights did. You see the join here is going to be very, very good. So this is really going to be cool. I'm going to get this to join very tight and well without any putty first, because so we can take it apart again if we need to. So here we have our little Cylon Eye that Kent made for me. It is wonderful. It's really, really cool. I got it all soldered up and it's working great. So here's the board that Kent made up for me, and you can see that there it is there, and I soldered it all up. So I'm back at the Enterprise today, and we are going to cut some formers, and these formers will fit inside here. It's a very thick plexiglass. This will attach to the neck up here and bolt through and support this whole structure so we can remove it, put it back on to work on it, because we got to build all these little rooms. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm cutting all this stuff on the bandsaw, and we'll have this assembled pretty quick. Okay, so now we've got that all figured out. Of course, this one has to be glued in. All this has to be glued in. This is going to be very, very strong. This is really all we need. And it's transparent, smoked, so it'll transmit a little bit of light. Not that I'm worried about that much, because we're going to be lighting up rooms. So there'll probably be no rooms here, but here there'll be rooms. And the lighting is actually going to be in the rooms overhead the way it would be. To do the lighting. But let's get this put together now and cut a slot in this and get it mounted here. So we've marked off rather precisely the location of this and its width and everything, and so I'm going to cut the slot out so that we can slip this whole thing down here. I'm going to do that with a Dremel tool. Then I'll lock this down and glue it in position. That's how I did it the first time. Okay, quick test fit, and this fits really, really fine. We need a little bit of putty in there, but not much. This fits great. I got plenty of, in fact, almost too much up here, so I have to cut some of that off, but I'll be able to know where that gets cut once I put the formers in, but now I know where I can put them in. So we got a very level, really nice fitting top Sasha section. I just put this on temporarily, just to kind of fills it out. I gotta put the fantail on too, but that can't go on until I've completely closed this up. Found a thin spot, but we'll fix that. I can't believe it. I thought I got all those. But this is very, very solid. This is not moving on me, and I can unbolt it and get it off. So I'm real pleased. This comes off with a couple of screws. This just pulls out. There's 2 screws back behind here, and what that enables me to do is get to the electronics if I have to. Because the only other way to get in here to some of the electronics will be to go through the hangar bay. But this is shaping up really well. We sit down here and look up, and you can see it's starting to look like an Enterprise. So it's about time to get the pylons on this model, and what I've done first is, of course, these were normally cast up solid with a channel stock inside of it for to pass the wires and stuff through, but this time I've done it in 2 halves like this, because originally Ken Palco was going to make some armature. Since that's not probably going to happen because I've already started on it, Ken's been so busy on Star Trek, I've done it this way, and I will connect these together, but I'm going to have our aluminum stock go through here. But right for now, I want to make sure that these are fitting right. Boy, you know, I love it when things work out like that. I mean, it fits great, okay? It fits exactly the way it's supposed to. It's really, really nice. Then I got to do the other one, and then I'm going to cut our aluminum and then figure out how to lock the aluminum in both into these and down into here. Which I have a pretty good plan for, which you'll see in a minute. So this is getting really interesting. I've been at this for about 3 hours or so, and there's, you know, things are taped together and stuck together with hot glue and stuff. But the main thing I wanted to do was get these pylons mounted with this very thick piece of aluminum stock in it, and these go into down into here, which is hard to see in there. Actually, the camera's doing a good job. That is a big bulk of resin that's polyester and filled with glass mat. So it's very strong, and when that completely crystallizes by tomorrow, it'll be rock hard, and I can remove these here. Right now, they're actually, it's holding without drooping rather well. I'll go over here and show you what I mean, but I'm going to leave it like this overnight. I mean, that is a nice level pylon. They're both really nice and level. They're at exactly the right height and the right angle, and you're probably wondering, well, what gauges and stuff did I use to do it? I didn't. I basically just, what I did was eyeball it. I did actually use some rulers and tape measure and checked and made some lines like this, because the bottoms of these nacelles should hit about here, and this much should be up over the top of the actual saucer section, which you can see they're showing really well the way they should right up top. They're nice and level to each other, and as Jim Key pointed out, it's not an easy thing to do, and it is not. And funny enough, these turn out the other half to be exactly the right height. I need to level these guys out. So, you know, there are some gaps I'm going to have to deal with and fill, but other than that, we're looking really, really good. So these slide off. I just tested one and lock on so tight, as well as this does. I mean, these are really, there's hardly any movement, and yet they plug in and out beautifully. So I'm really happy with that, and they're nice and level, and we're coming out right at that spot where it's supposed to be. So I couldn't be more pleased with how that's all coming out. I mean, this is really starting to look like the ship all the way. In fact, I'll go ahead and attach tape on the one side of the nacelle, which will really help. So there we go. Now it's starting to look like the Enterprise. No? Yes. Additionally, when you add parts like the buzzard caps, it really starts to look the part. Of course, there's the end caps, which will go on here. So I test fitted some parts. I just tacked them on with a little bit of CA just to make sure everything's on the up and up, and it is. Everything's going together really well. I think we're going to have a really nice model here. It's really starting to look like the Enterprise. Of course, we don't have the sensor on here. We don't have the impulse engine, but you know, that's not going to go on for a while. I still have to remove the saucer section and get in there and do all kinds of stuff. Some of it I might be able to do while it's still on there, but we'll see. Of course, this all goes here. But then again, we're going to have, once this gets all blended in, these doors are going to open and close. So I have to make a trace around this and then cut that open. And what I'm going to do for now is just kind of have the doors, I'm going to cut these so they look like they've been opened. So I can start getting inside there and making the actual hangar bay and do the perspective gag. Likewise, I need to get up here so we can do that famous shot going into here and see the bridge. I got some rooms to put inside there. I got some rooms to put inside here, lighting, windows, lots of stuff like that. So before I could never really get to painting the whole parts, I got problems like stuff that cracked and broke here. None of this is a problem. You just fill it with putty and basically you're a finished deal. So she's a little rough around the edges right now, but this is all I need to work with. The saucer top, because the mold's so old and this part was cast up so long ago, of course it warped a bit, but it's going right back and it's getting really straight again. So I'm real happy with that because I was a bit worried I might have to cast another one, but I don't think I will. And anything that's warped or, you know, because these molds are so old and they have so many problems, is so easily fixed with some Evercoat metal glaze and a little bit of sanding. All the basis that I need to make a really good model is right here. So I'm really pleased with that, and I really love how strong these are. I mean, they're much better than mine, and mine didn't droop that much at all. These shouldn't droop at all, I'm hoping, over time. So I've done everything right. I've made sure everything's level, you know, so you can see the domes over the top of the ship, which is what you're supposed to be able to see. They're lined up pretty true. Everything is a bit leaning forward on the nacelles. They're actually drooping forward, which is what I want. So when the resin hards up and weight and gravity takes over, when I move those posts, they're gonna go back level again. So I'm a happy camper. So we end here for this week's video with this progress, which I think was pretty neat for 4 days. I was having a nice long talk with Greg Vigiano today, Executive Director of the Museum of Science Fiction.org. Actually, there's no the, it's museumsciencefiction.org. And we were talking about the fact that I need more funds to finish this and how great you guys have been in supporting us in this build, because you're all going to get your name on a plaque that says you contributed to this build, and it's going to be in this museum in Washington, D.C. when it's built, which is going to be a pretty neat thing because it's going to be there for a long time. Much like the Smithsonian, this is going to be the Smithsonian of Science Fiction Museum. So it's going to really be a neat thing. And I was telling Greg, the main reason I wanted to do this was not to get myself attention and not to get more work out of it and that kind of thing, but was because I thought it would be a great contribution to make to actually build something like this and have it be put in a museum for all to see and appreciate and enjoy. For me, that's kind of an honor because I don't have anything in a museum, you know? So doing this is really cool. I don't need to be paid for this, but it does take money to build it. So that's why I've been asking for your help. And of course, if you go to our webpage, steveneilsgarage.com, and you go to the tab, Friends of SNG, and pull over on that tab, you will see the donation page to contribute to this. Some people have donated $100, and they are getting a little tiny figure 3D printed that will be located inside the ship, and there'll be a little plan that shows you where it is, and on the cell phone app as well. Greg told me today there's going to be cameras placed all around this, so if you're not able to go to the museum, you'll actually be able to control this model from your cell phone and actually access the close-up cameras that are near it to look in windows and see inside and see outside, and you know, you can push buttons and open up the hangar bay and turn lights off and on. It's going to be pretty neat. So I am very, very proud to be part of this. And we talked about possibly another model I may be building for them, which I'll be happy to do. But we'll talk more about that later. That's it for this week. We look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to be back on this, of course. We're going to be on the Battlestar Galactica. Kent sent me a really nice board for the engines to flicker, which is really cool. And of course, we'll be working on the movie some more, because we got to finish Martians Attacks SNG before we can start the next full-length motion picture project that I'm going to be conspiring with Bill and Heidi Hughes to do. More about that in the future.